Hello guys, thank you for joining me for this Photoshop time lapse of a character creation request that I got from a friend. He goes by the handle Sausage, so we are creating a sausage character for him. I have my reference images on the side. This is a time lapse of a live Twitch drawing I did. So I do use Photoshop. Right now I'm creating my first draft. I like to use pink for the first draft, really doesn't matter what you use. I'm going on a separate layer to start blocking out some colors. You always have the option to do your final outline first, but I've only been using Photoshop for about a week now, so I'm practicing different methods. I'm working with getting my basic shapes first and then going through and doing some outlines afterward. I'm using a drawing tablet, Huion drawing tablet, and I'm still working with getting straight lines. I had a friend who works with Photoshop and she told me to turn the smoothness up, and so I did that, and that helped a lot with getting that big long straight line there down. I have my little kitty cat on the side of the stream, so stop to give her some attention. If you tune into my streams, I have her there a lot. Right here, I'm taking the color block that I did, pressing Ctrl T so I can transform it, and using the warp button to change it a little, because if you just resize the image, it will take that one image and just make it bigger or smaller. I wanted to move some edges, and the warp tool does really great for that. I had a problem with my brushes. They were not doing exactly what I wanted them to, and I changed the flow. It was really low, and that helped a little bit. And I also tried different brushes, so being new in Photoshop, I feel like it's important to experiment with different brushes, kind of get used to how those brushes react. I like doing the color blocking and kind of figure out what colors I'm going to be using, but my favorite part is shading. So right now I'm using the select tool and going in and shading this green eye. I like playing with the opacity tool. It's really cool to be able to put in detail that's not that harsh, because you can take a color and turn the opacity really low and make some really cool effects with it. And I was just laughing at this point with how crazy it looked with having that realistic eye there and everything else being super bland. I thought it looked kind of silly. My friend that I'm drawing this for requested that the eyes be more Asian because he's Asian. So this is me kind of practicing that and then having trouble with the brushes. I'm drawing and it just, nothing's coming out very opaque. It's all transparent, and the more I draw over an old line, the darker that line becomes. So once I changed the flow, it got a little better. I'm using the eraser tool to clean up a little bit. And then this is using the selection tool and then transforming that, because I had the shape I liked and I wanted to make it bigger rather than completely redrawing it. One of the things that was kind of irritating me at this point was how all of the lines seemed very rough. They weren't very smooth at all. And I think learning which brushes to use will help with that. But also the size of the canvas. If I'm zoomed in too much, I think the pixelation makes it look not smooth. I liked the feel of using a brown outline rather than a black outline for this. It's something I've been experimenting with lately, avoiding those harsh outlines. A lot of my previous work that I used to do with just drawing and painting Mardi Gras floats, I had a lot of harsh black outlines because I feel like it would make it pop. But with the character creation I've been doing lately, I've been enjoying some less harsh outlines. I feel like it can be used right. Something I really enjoy doing in this process is using the eye dotter tool. When you press Alt, when you're on your brushes and you press Alt, the eye dotter will appear and you can take a color sample. Changing the opacity on the brush low will allow you to go over something and be able to go over it multiple times to get that color darker. But using that brusher tool over something you've just shaded a little will continue to change it, and you'll be able to like mix the colors and blend the colors together. Some people use the smudge tool, but honestly I've been using Photoshop for a week and I don't really know where that is, but I haven't really sought out to find it. I've just heard people talking about it. I really like this method. Whenever I shaded that, and when I'm going to shade this, what I do is I take my selection on the layer that I did the blocking, and then I create a new layer for the shading. You can still use your Alt eyedropper tool to get the color you want, but if you need to erase anything, it's not going to erase that whole base layer. I feel like once I started to color in and do the shading on this character, it really started to come to life a little better. And that's something I really enjoy about working on this project, is starting to see that end result get there. Right now, for something like this, it takes me just something a little more simple like this. It took me about 2 hours to make, 2 to 2.5 hours. But the more I do it, the better I get at it. I did have some trouble here because I wasn't consistent with the layers. I was shading on a layer that was my outline, so it got a little fuzzy, and I couldn't just erase it because I was erasing my outline. So that's again why it's important to make sure your layers are on a separate layer. Also put my highlight on a separate layer by itself. For that white, I just made a really big brush and I set the opacity low. The eye was still looking off to me, so after I try to clean this up a little bit, I did go in and add some shading to the eye. Now it still felt a little creepy to me, so you'll see after this, we actually ended up taking out that eye and making it both squinty. So I'll show you what that is right there, and I just used that selection tool, copied it, and erased the edges and smoothed it out. Thanks for joining me. You can catch me on Twitch